I would like the MLK Statute Planning Committee to please come up and blank the statute for the unveiling. Just trying to make a few brief comments before we hold the curtain back. As we dedicate this Martin Luther King Jr. statue, may it serve constantly and perpetually to make us aware of its historical significance and symbolic meaning. Because from this day forward, it stands on our campus as a prominent reminder of a profound moment in our history. It stands for us to recall that in the pursuit of justice and equality for all, we have traveled far, but not far enough. It stands for a man of courage, conviction, and who was preeminently a moral leader. And it stands as a call for our campus community to reaffirm and renew our efforts to achieve strength through diversity and strive to do so, in the words of Dr. King, with the fierce urgency of now. Let us unveil the statue and then hear a few words from the artist who created it, sculptor Todd McKillop. So now is the time.
Well, when John Lomax contacted me a year ago in January via email with the idea of creating a Martin Luther King Jr. statue on campus, I honestly was thrilled. The opportunity of a lifetime, the opportunity of a lifetime for any sculptor to celebrate this man as Dr. King. And so, as soon as the sort of jubilation passed, then the task set in. The gravity task set in. And so we had photos from the archives that were provided to me by Paul Lodge that I was able to access from the actual visit, which was terrific resource and inspiration for the sculpture. And after that, then I knew that I needed multiple photos of Dr. King's face, portraits, as many as I could find. So my wife started scouring the internet, came up with well over 100 images. And of those 100 images, all shot from different angles, and all from different occasions, different lighting, they created a challenge in and of themselves because he looks really different in many of the photos. And so it was my task to sort of distill all those down and to create the image of Dr. King that I wanted to convey to the university. And I had assistants, obviously my wife's critical eye, coming out to the studio and looking at the piece throughout the process. Definitely couldn't have done this without the support of my wife. To echo some words heard earlier today. But also good friends, artist friends, who came over and lent critical eye to the work. And I knew I was getting closer and closer when they would stare longer and say less, which was a good thing. So that said, it was my goal to create a sculpture of Dr. King as a man of peace, a man of nonviolence, and a man of vast inner strength. And I'd like to thank the committee for working with me and supporting me and being really helpful, coming to the studio, looking at the piece throughout the process, and all those involved, because a lot of people were involved in this, and I'd like to thank you all. Thank you, Ted. We are pleased to have your second beautiful work on our campus. And in closing, let me thank you for being a great audience. Thank you for being part of this historic moment on our campus. And let me call to the podium our Bishop Palmer.
conclude our program at this point.
Thank you, Brother President, and to all of you, to the speakers today, to this whole university community, contributors, trustees, faculty, students, and all who have labored in this regard. I was thinking, as I have been these months, coming to the 50th commemoration of the assassination of Dr. King, about the meaning of it all, and I have distilled it down to what does it mean to respond to one's call? Jesus of Nazareth went into the temple in his hometown, and Luke and the 4th chapter records that the attendant in the temple handed him the scroll, and the scroll was unrolled by Jesus, and he read some writings from Isaiah that would include these words, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, and that Spirit has anointed me to preach good news to the poor, recovering of sight to the blind, release to the captives," etc. And in his own time and place, Martin King heard the call, perhaps more than one call. And sometimes I suspect thinking he might go in one direction. I mean, after all, most people who pursue a terminal degree, as many of you in this audience will understand, don't necessarily envision themselves in Montgomery, Alabama at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church and then embroiled and bringing leadership to the movement that transformed, and I believe is still transforming this nation. But there was a sense of call that drove him back to the South, he says, and I have in my desk in my office a copy of a letter. There are more, I am sure, where he turns down the invitation to join the faculty of what was then the Garrett, soon to be Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary on the campus of Northwestern University. And in effect, in that letter, he says, as he turns down the offer to go and be a part of that faculty, particularly in the area of theology and ethics, he says, I must return to the South. Not necessarily knowing what would happen, but that sense of call that Jesus heard when he unrolled that scroll, because he went on to say, today, this, what you've heard from Isaiah, is unfolding in your midst. Could it be that Dr. King had a similar sense, and as he went on, and as the movement unfolded, the call to be here, the call to go there, even as we were told by Dr. Lafayette on a rainy night when he had already turned in for the night. So a part of the legacy of Dr. King for everyone in our society and around the world is to learn to listen deeply, not only to the hopes and hurts of the world, but to listen deeply to that voice, that sense, that presence that calls us to deeper and ongoing service. So my hope and my prayer is that each one of us, every day of our lives, would listen for that voice, would discern that presence and that sense. And where it is calling us to justice and righteousness and equity and fairness and inclusion and to the tearing down of walls in a world where it's becoming popular, at least to posture that you will build walls, to say yes to that call that says, if a wall is built, I will turn it into a bridge, to be closer to my neighbors, rather than to be separated. So in that spirit, receive this blessing. These are the words of the Apostle Paul, who spoke to the Corinthians in his first correspondence to them, having been reminded that we're not laying down, but we're standing up. Paul said to the Corinthians, therefore, my beloved, be steadfast, be immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain. And I pray now that the blessing of God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sanctifier, will be with you always. Amen.